The president and first lady did not wear masks when they greeted some 7,000 spectators who gathered for speeches and fireworks last night at the base of Mount Rushmore. Earlier, a group of Native American protesters were arrested after they blocked a road leading to the monument. While Mr. Trump thanked first responders for their efforts to battle the virus, his 40-minute speech largely took aim at the efforts to remove controversial monuments and statues. Nicole Killian is at the White House this morning. What more can you tell us?
Hey, good morning to you, Michelle, and happy 4th. President Trump and the First Lady just got back to the White House from South Dakota a short time ago. And while last night's event was about celebrating the country, the president instead used much of his speech to take a hard line against those he accuses of trying to tear it down.
As fireworks lit up over Mount Rushmore for the first time in a decade, President Trump delivered a fiery defense of the Founding Fathers.
I am here as your president to proclaim before the country and before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced. Their legacy will never, ever be destroyed.
The president lashed out at protesters seeking to remove controversial historical figures from their place on pedestals.
Our nation is witnessing a merciless campaign to wipe out our history, defame our heroes, erase our values, and indoctrinate our children.
Mr. Trump announced a new executive order creating a national garden to feature statues of American heroes.
We are the country of Andrew Jackson, Ulysses S. Grant, and Frederick Douglass.
At the event, there was little space for social distancing.
Complimentary masks, 5 to a package.
Organizers offered masks, but few in the crowd put them on.
November 6th, I am certain of it.
And now coronavirus has entered the president's family circle. Kimberly Guilfoyle, the girlfriend of Donald Trump Jr., tested positive for the virus. The president's son tested negative. The pair were in South Dakota for a fundraiser, but sources say have not been in direct contact with the president.
And tonight, President Trump will headline a salute to America here at the White House, complete with military flyovers and more fireworks. The mayor of Washington has cited public health risks and is urging residents to stay home. But for those who don't, the National Park Service is making some 300,000 masks available to visitors along the National Mall. Jeff?
Yeah, 'cause America. With that being said, guys, this is How the Frack We Got Here. Today's date is July 4th, 2020. And I am not calling it the 4th anymore. I am calling it Barbecue Day. You don't like it? Well, change the channel. Aside from that, guys, thank you for watching. I'm your host, Will Buchanan. And on How the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before I do get started, this is an adult podcast, which means that things of adult love means adult language will be used. We're trying to cut down on that. And things of a graphic nature may be shown, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So yes, we did start with that because President Dorito was doing his 4th of July speech at Mount Rushmore, and it is not without controversy. We really shouldn't be surprised about that, considering the fact that, of course, Mount Rushmore is basically one of the nation's most longest-standing monuments. But most like most monuments this week, or I should say for this month, however, they are being taken down. Unfortunately, in my home state of Tennessee, we're still arguing over whether or not a former Confederate / KKK founder statues and busts should be removed from our halls. Let me repeat that again for all those that are listening. For all those that are listening or just went right past them. We are literally having a debate over removing a former Confederate general / founder of the KKK statue and bust from our city's halls of legislation. Let that one sink in. But then again, Tennessee's racist. We already know about that. But anyway, speaking of monuments, though, Mount Rushmore again is the focal point of this week, just because it was built on Native American land. Even more so that, well, when we look at these two articles I'm about to show, it's kind of in the same sense that you see Tulsa, Oklahoma happening all over again, because basically you have no social distancing, disregard to wear masking, disregard to wear a mask, and you have a president that's claiming freedom when his freedom rights are being validated. Yep, this is Tulsa all over again.
Photo op for the president to kick off the 4th of July weekend.
It's going to be a fireworks display like few people have seen.
Standing in the shadow of 4 presidents at Mount Rushmore, with military flyovers and the first fireworks display at the monument in a decade, all amid a global pandemic. Critics say the event is risking coronavirus spread among the expected 7,500 spectators. As cases continue to spike across the country, there are nearly 7,000 confirmed cases in South Dakota and 97 deaths. There will be no social distancing, but masks will be provided.
We won't be social distancing. We're asking them to come, be ready to celebrate, to enjoy the freedoms and the liberties that we have in this country.
It's not clear how many of those 7,500 visitors will come from other places experiencing rising cases.
We are concerned about the coronavirus. We want our visitors to be safe and healthy. We're very confident that we have been quite careful in analyzing the situation on how to have a safe and responsible event.
The president once suggested to South Dakota's governor that he'd like to be the 5th face on the mountain. And here in Trump country, people actually buy into it.
One day, Donald J. Trump will be on that monument, I firmly believe.
But at a time of racial unease, when protesters are tearing down statues of slaveholders and calling for the names of Confederate generals to be removed from army bases, the Rushmore event is a reminder that Trump is fighting to preserve these relics of heritage and history that some see as symbols of oppression. And to indigenous people, Mount Rushmore, with 4 white presidents, 2 of whom were slave owners, is one of those symbols.
Indigenous people and my ancestors fought and died and gave their lives to protect the sacred land. And to blow up a mountain and put the faces of 4 white men who were colonizers, who committed genocide against indigenous people, the fact that we don't, as America, think of that as an absolute outrage is ridiculous.
The dispute over Mount Rushmore has gone on for decades, carved out of South Dakota's Black Hills on land sacred to Native Americans who have never gotten over the fact that the government took over this location and turned it into a tourist attraction.
Native American activists say the government should give back the land to the original owners. They're planning protests, and local tribal councils have denounced the Trump visit.
All of a sudden, what indigenous people have been saying for generations, there's an appetite to have a conversation about symbols of white supremacy, structural racism.
Historian Tom Griffith says getting rid of the monuments is not the answer.
We can easily erase all of the symbols of our past, but we can't ignore the history. It will remain no matter what sculptures are torn down around the country, and that continues today.
To some, Mount Rushmore, the creation, is almost as controversial today as its creator, Gutzon Borglum. The sculptor was an ardent supporter of the Ku Klux Klan, though he never took the oath.
I think more than ideology, but more practically, he was affiliated with the Klan to raise money.
And we are also expecting a fireworks display tonight. That, too, is controversial because of...
So, yeah, I love how, it never ceased to amaze me how a historian would always sit there and say, well, if we take down the monuments, it's not going to change anything. Really? Work for Nazis, work for Germany, work for Tabal, work for China, work for every other spot that had... Oh, Iraq, when they took down Saddam Hussein, I didn't see Republicans stepping in and saying, hey, don't take down the Saddam Hussein statue. You're going to take away your heritage. You're going to not remember it. It's like the Berlin Wall still came down. Look, the whole point I'm trying to make out of this, guys, is that the people remember. This is the one thing I've always said. people remember because statues are always up. This whole argument over heritage and things of that nature, if you want to be heritage, if you want to remember your heritage was racist. You remember your heritage was guys who were slave owners, who were colonizers, who attempted genocide on minorities such as Native Americans and African Americans, things of that nature. You want to sell it, I mean, that's all associated with your heritage. So if you're going to talk about your heritage, then talk about it all the way through. Because it always kills me, of course, me being in the South, I always hear the same thing. Well, you're taking away our Confederate flag. That's a part of my heritage. So you're happy about the fact that you literally were a part of a known terrorist organization that was trying to destroy the Union and at the same time trying to live their own lives and be rebellious and all this stuff, all the claims about freedom and personal rights. You want to claim that heritage? Oh, it's the fact of the matter that y'all still want to own slaves, but you want to, celebrate that heritage. Again, that makes no sense. Like I said, a lot of states are removing these statues, and for good reason. We don't want to celebrate. I mean, history, we should be learning from history, not repeating it. And I said history is one of my favorite subjects. So, for the simple fact of the matter is, I forgot who said it, but the phrase still remains. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So, with that being said, I'm like, what is the whole point of having these statues up of men who have destroyed? Even in Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore was actually built on Black Hill territory, which is Native American territory. Again, why in the blue hell? I mean, even on this monument, every one of those men had some sort of egregious, heinous action. If you think about it, I mean, slave owners, genocide. I mean, go down the list. Especially with the fact of the matter is that we decided to use the Emancipation Proclamation to basically go on sacred land and build a monument. I never was for Mount Rushmore. Honestly, you can blow that up for all I care. Only because it serves no purpose. For what? To remind us that our nation, to remind us that this nation that we live in was built on the back of genocidal murderers and colonizers. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Because why in the world do we want to celebrate stuff like that? Again, this is the reason why I say that that's a conversation a lot of people are not ready to have. Because what is the whole point of this monument? Because you want to remember. I almost want to tell some people, do you really want to remember a racist person that badly? Because let's be honest, out of sight, out of mind. And it's amazing that a historian would sit there and say removing these statues won't solve the problem when it's worked in every other country or nation that's ever had this type of issue, and dictators for that matter. But I shouldn't be surprised because, like I said, this is another Tulsa, Oklahoma situation waiting to happen. Because keep in mind what happened in Tulsa with the Trump rally. Coronavirus cases increased. Everybody from Secret Service to people that attended got sick. At the same time, they offered masks, didn't do social distancing, and at the same time invited people into the state coming from other areas where they may have corona cases. They may have higher than normal corona cases. And Mount Rushmore, which was just yesterday, again, 7,500 people show up, no social distancing. Most of them weren't wearing masks, as you can see in the video. And on top of that, you have, the president still toting around like the coronavirus is going to take care of itself. No, it's not. It's not going away. And it's only because now, just like in my state of Tennessee, we have to start back from the beginning because nobody can follow fucking instructions. Wear a mask. It is not that fucking hard. If a surgeon can wear a mask for 6 hours, you can wear a mask while going through Kmart, Karen. That's all I'm saying. Almost at the same time with social distancing. If you know your ass is sick, don't go anywhere. Yes, being at home sucks, but you can figure out a way to pass the time. At the same time, these rules were not put in place because we decided to go ahead and reopen just because instead of actually helping out American people and actually giving the same type of help that they gave Wall Street, you would turn around and just sit there and say, oh no, let's get you back to work as soon as possible. And what happens? We start the cycle all over again. This time it's even worse. But I've been saying that. It's the whole, me and others that have been looking at this and going, this is a terrible idea because no city in America is close to reopening. But you know who is close to reopening? The European nation. European Union, the EU. And you know what the EU just told American travelers? No persona non grata. That means that In Australia, South Korea, Japan, and China, among the EU's list of 15 countries eligible to travel in its borders, we didn't make the list. That's right. The European Union is literally putting up a wall and telling us we can't come through. And rightly so, just because if anybody's noticed in the EU, the cases for coronaviruses in the EU is significantly lower than what we have here. And let's be honest, the European Union, which is the list of countries that were hit the hardest before us, should tell you a lot. Even more so, they're not trying to go backwards. And because they're not trying to go backwards, and they look at us like this melting pot of coronavirus ready to reinfect, they turned around and told us, hell no. We don't want you here. And I honestly cannot blame the EU. I can't. Because what you're trying to do, if you're literally trying to flatten the curve, so to speak, on the coronavirus, and at the same time you have this country over here whose cases are increasing because they opened too early, and they're wanting to come travel over to the EU and then start your cycle all over again? Hell no. I can't blame the EU for that. Not at all. Only because it is a melting pot for disaster. So, I can't blame the European Union for closing their borders to the U.S. It's just bound to happen. Unfortunately, we have to start all over again with the quarantining, with businesses closing. And I know that sucks for economy-wise, but this is where we should actually have, this is exactly where we should have more enforcement over social distancing, over mask wearing and things of that nature. And like I said, you don't have to order a mask. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there that show you how to make a cloth mask. So you really don't have any excuses. Unless you're President Dorito and feel like you're invincible. But let's be honest, that man, they're taking every precaution to make that man, to make sure that man doesn't get sick, because that would basically go back on everything that he said. But moving right along, there have been a lot of what the fuck moments this week, specifically in the event of just, well, how can I put this? White people pulling guns, and there's just no way to explain this story because I'll actually play the video first, and then we'll go into it.
Get away! She got the gun on me. He about to hit me with the car. Call him. I'm telling. Get the license plate. Get the license plate. Get the license plate now. Cause you were never about to hit me with the car. You hit me with the car. You both of y'all put the guns down on me. Okay. Call Richard back up to the police. Call Richard back up here now.
I got it.
Don't you jump behind. Oh no, I ain't jumping behind your girl. What you doing? Your husband was hitting me. Do you see that? Do you see that? They both pointed that gun on me. He was trying to hit me with the car when I was going back. You see that? And then when I hit his car, he wanted to jump out the car and put a gun on me. That is crazy. Trump making it real comfortable. Call the police. No, don't go anywhere. Call the police. 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 You about to hit me with the car. They mother trying to hit me and then pull a gun out on me. Move out the way.
Okay, so to give some context to that, basically what wound up happening was that a couple, this was actually in Clarkston, Michigan, where a couple had backed out. They had almost hit pretty much the woman's child. Of course, the woman went out there and confronted the driver and the woman. So they're saying, you almost hit my child, you really need to watch out. Of course, what wound up happening is the situation escalated in which both the husband and the woman, as you see in the video, did pull their firearms on people who were unarmed. And of course, as you saw in the video where the instigation ensued, as she's literally pointing the gun at somebody that is unarmed, and of course eventually decide to hop in the car and take off. So at this point, it is amazing to me that, like I said before, this is the reason why I say, as a gun owner, that's sad. Because, number one, there was never a reason for her to pull. You pulled just because the fact of the matter is that you were intending to use it. And then in your mind, you already had your excuse that all you have to sit there and say is, well, I feared for my life, so I pulled my gun on these unarmed black people. Because you've heard that story before. You've heard that story and seen how successful it works for some people. So again, it just amazed me. So that not only she pulled a gun and pretty much just ramped up the situation, and only to take off. Now the funny part about this whole entire story is, as they didn't show in the video, that they were found and that they were arrested on felony charges for brandishing a firearm and attempted assault and battery, and each of them were given a $50,000 bond. And the funny part about this is, not only did they have to surrender all their firearms and prohibited from leaving the state, the husband was an employee at Oakland University. And let's be honest, when you see how people get exposed to the internet, sometimes karma does his job. Does her job, I should say. And needless to say, he is no longer employed at Oakland University. So again, I just found it interesting. Like I said, karma may take a while, but man, when she hits hard. Aside from that, guys, there is another story, like I said, about what the fuck white people, especially in this one, where these people pull guns on protesters.
Including this. A demonstration in St. Louis led to a heart-pounding scene outside the home of one of the mayor's neighbors. You can see a man and a woman pointing a pistol and what looks like an assault rifle at the crowd yesterday. The couple was confronting hundreds of protesters who passed through their gated community to urge Mayor Lyda Krewson to resign. On Friday, during a Facebook Live event, Krewson read the personal information of demonstrators who want the city's police department defunded. More than 40,000 people have signed an online petition demanding the mayor step down. The video has since been deleted, and Krewson has apologized. She also said the names and addresses she read out, Tony, are public information, and luckily, with regards to that video, no one was hurt.
Yeah, no one was hurt in that video with the gun on the porch, but that information, while it may be public, it wasn't as public as being read out loud. There's a difference between it being technically accessible and...
Crazy, isn't it? That this mayor in St. Louis decided that, of course, because she decided that she wanted to read out the personal information of protesters on live television. And these protesters were literally following their right to basically protest outside this woman's house, calling for her resignation. But apparently, straight out of Trader Joe's decided to come out and say, "Oh, you're coming through our neighborhood, our gated neighborhood? Not on my watch, sonny." I mean, simply put, the guy looked like he just stepped out of Brooks Brothers, and the woman looks like she just had her fifth mimosa. And you're going to sit there and just apparently show dominance. And that's what that's what I took from all this. It's just that you have protesters, unarmed, right? Unarmed protesters coming through your neighborhood because it's a gated community and because the mayor lives there, and you're going to sit there and tell me that because they're going toward the mayor's house, you immediately feel threatened and you start to pull guns and stay on your property like the Hatfields and McCoys. Yeah. See, this is the thing that kills me. It's just that there's this level of, there's this air of supremacy that just radiates with these people. That's just like, okay, well, I'm going to pull my gun on protesters. And keep in mind, these are non protesters. Lord only knows the protesters were armed how it would really go. But it's the whole thing they kept on saying, well, he, and I love how they sit there and say it, because this is always the given story that people with guns love to use. And it usually goes a little something like this. Well, they felt like it was an angry mob on a private street. First of all, there is no such thing as a private street. Gated communities aren't private. If you ain't noticed, if you can find a way in, it's a way in. But it's not private. Gated communities are far from that. So the whole thing of saying, well, this is our street, nobody else can come in, well, that's bullshit, because how'd the mob get in? Also, it's an angry mob. Protesters, I said, here's the thing what people don't get about protests. Protests are never meant to be comfortable. They are meant to be unsettling. They are meant to grab your attention and bring your attention to a point that you're trying to make. So, and on top of that, the coup de grace out of the whole thing, they feared for their lives. Well, if you weren't the focus of the protest, then why are you scared? You're not the mayor. You're not the mayor that decided that, for all the protesters that were saying defund the police, you're not one of the many names and addresses that she gave out on the air to people. That alone should be scary. because she can cite public information all she wants to, but public information, as the anchor said, isn't that public. For example, you would be hard pressed to find somebody's information unless it was already registered. Now, if you have somebody, now it might be true for addresses, but cell phones, social security, things of that nature, any type of PHI is not going to be as apparent as that mayor is trying to say. What that mayor basically did was violate a lot of people's privacies, and yes, she should step down. Because here's the thing about defunding the police, and a quick thing about that. Defunding the police does not mean that we are stripping the police of everything. That means all defunding police is just that we are demilitarizing the police. Military vehicles that they don't need, military weapons that they don't need, military equipment that they don't need, more training, more time to actually become a police officer, and to have public oversight. Because yes, the police need to answer to someone other than themselves. That's defunding the police. Defunding the police has very little to do with money and more about actually an organized structure. And the one thing the police hate, as you can tell, is following the rules and organized structure. But speaking of police, one is definitely losing his job today, and I admit the next video is a little bit graphic, so I apologize, but there is no other way to show this as to explain why this police officer is definitely fired after this.
A Miami-Dade police officer relieved of duty after body cam footage shows the officer striking a woman hard at the Miami airport. Take a look.
I really should. You acting like that you black. You acting like you white when you really black. Don't walk up on me for real. What you want to do?
Wow.
Walk up on me for real. What you want to do?
Wow. Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez explained what happened last night on CNN Tonight.
And it entailed a lady that missed her flight, and she started to really be upset at I guess the ticket agents, and they called the police. And then she got really close into his face, and he punched her, and that's a way too excessive use of force.
Miami-Dade County's police director says this will not stand. He's asked the state attorney to get involved in the investigation immediately. Now, we should note, you can hear a male on the video say, "She headbutted me," as the woman is placed in custody. No headbutt, though, can be seen in the video.
Crazy, isn't it? She did walk up on him. And that's fine. But here's the thing, as law enforcement. As law enforcement, you are trained to reserve and restrain physical action. Yes, you should try to de-escalate the situation. Yes, you should have tried to do everything short, but there is no excuse that a woman walks up on you and you decide to just unload on her as if she was a man. And I mean, that was a full-on throw everything behind it kind of punch. So again, in that situation, yes, that officer should be fired. He should have been fired immediately. He should be stripped of his pension. And like I've been saying, you want to stop these assaults by police. You want to stop these, quote unquote, things of this nature that, police always say he feared for my life and all this stuff. And here's the thing I keep saying. The police pensions that these people have, these police pensions should go to the victims. If you want to stop this kind of mess, I guarantee you, if you start using use these police pensions to pay back those that were hurt by those officers, they'd stop overnight. What do you say, Alex? I hope she sues the fuck out of that ex-cop in the police department. I hope she does too. I hope she sues them for everything she can. Because at the same time, there was no reason for that man to literally unload on her. You're exactly right. But also, the other developing stories that we have, guys, as I'm trying to follow it, because like I said, with all these murder cases being reopened, there was one that I missed and I apologize for. And after reading this story, I can understand. I mean, that kind of tore at my heartstrings on this one, because there are way too many deaths out there that are happening and not being given enough explanation or enough exploration or enough investigation. I think I said investigation twice. but not enough is being done to actually give the families peace and closure. And this is just one of those developing stories that just, I mean, they're becoming too common.
Details emerging about the disappearance of soldier Vanessa Guillen. Federal prosecutors say a suspect in custody claims to know how she was killed and how her body was disposed of. Guillen's heartbroken family is demanding justice and accusing the Army of failing to take her disappearance seriously. Here's ABC's Diane Macedo.
Tonight, the Justice Department is painting a gruesome picture of what they believe happened to missing Fort Hood soldier Vanessa Guillen. Federal prosecutors say 22-year-old Cecily Aguilar, a civilian, confessed to helping boyfriend Army Specialist Aaron Robinson get rid of Guillen's body. The complaint quotes Aguilar saying Robinson told her on April 22nd he'd killed a female soldier by striking her in the head with a hammer multiple times, then moved her body in a box to a location near the Leon River in Belton, Texas. Aguilar allegedly told authorities she'd then helped Robinson dismember the body and attempted to burn it, adding she later recognized Private First Class Vanessa Guillen. Authorities say Robinson killed himself Wednesday morning. The developments come after partial human remains were found near the Leon River on Tuesday. Positive identification is still pending. Guillen's family says before she vanished, the 20-year-old claimed she'd been sexually harassed by a superior, but was afraid to report it.
Ever since she came into Fort Hood, her personality just changed. She wasn't the same person.
The Army is still investigating those claims, but says they found no evidence that Guillen was sexually harassed. The family's attorney today accused Fort Hood of keeping the family in the dark.
The very least they could have done was provide answers for that family.
She wanted to join the Army to have better opportunities for herself and for my parents. That's why she wanted to join, to protect and serve, but yet they failed her.
Cecily Aguilar is charged with conspiracy to tamper with evidence and is due in court on Monday. Meanwhile, the Guillen family is calling on Congress to investigate the handling of the case. The top commander at Fort Hood says he tried to balance informing the family with protecting the investigation.
And by protecting the investigation, he means protecting the Army. Trust me, I've had friends of mine that have been at Fort Hood, and it is not all peaches and cream. And let's be honest, when it comes to the armed forces, they simply cannot take another hit, especially in the same sense that, yes, a murder occurred as one soldier murdered another soldier, and now the Army is trying to cover it up. That's just my opinion. And again, I feel terrible for the Guillen family because, like I said, it was one of those things, like I said, you know, these murders are becoming all too common, especially among armed forces, and it always seems to amaze me how one side's protected more than the actual victim. And that alone should tell us something about how this stuff is being handled. Really getting in from what I've heard about Fort Hood and also some other places, Fort Campbell. Let's just say there's a lot of horror stories there that a lot of people wish actually were made public. But also speaking of other things, like of course, like I said, this has been kind of a what the fuck week so far. I've never ceased to amaze me the level of how some people will take something that happened so tragically and use it as a fucking photo op.
Officers from Aurora, Colorado are off the force tonight after photos emerged showing 3 of them reenacting the kind of neck hold that Elijah McClain was subjected to last August. He died 3 days later. The police chief called taking those photos a crime against humanity. Here's ABC's Clayton Sandow.
I am disgusted to my core.
Tonight, Aurora's interim police chief says the officers seen in this photo simulating a chokehold used on Elijah McClain don't deserve to wear the badge.
It's reprehensible, and that's why they no longer work here.
Officers Erica Marrero and Kyle Dietrich were fired. Jaron Jones resigned after posing for these photos in October, 2 months after the 23-year-old massage therapist and violinist was confronted by police.
Stop. I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
Police say McClain tried to grab an officer's gun. They used a carotid chokehold to subdue him as he pleaded for his life.
I can't breathe. I'm just different. It's awful. I'm so sorry.
For your gun, dude.
I have no gun.
That's where I tried carotid.
I don't do that stuff.
McClain was given a heavy sedative and died 3 days after a caller reported a man in a ski mask. McClain's family says he wore it because of a blood condition that made him feel cold. One of the officers who responded that night, Jason Rosenblatt, received this picture in a text message. He replied, "Ha ha," and was also fired.
There was absolutely nothing funny about this.
The idea that one resigned because he got caught in a photo?
That's somehow shameful on a next level sort of way. They stood by and they let this happen.
All right, Clayton joins us now live from Aurora, from the spot where police confronted McClain. Clayton, besides those photos, there's also still the important investigation into the death of Elijah McClain.
That's right, Tom. The Colorado Attorney General is now investigating these officers who were initially cleared last summer, and the FBI and the Department of Justice say they're also looking into the case for possible civil rights violations. Tom?
Okay, Clayton, thank you.
Fucked up, isn't it? That 3 cops decided to take it upon themselves to go to the site of where a man was murdered by the police and decided to use it as a photo op to send back to one of the officers who was still involved with the killing of Elijah McClain's death. And sitting there saying, haha. And, firing 2 officers, definitely understand that. Allowing one to resign, no, because that means he keeps his benefits and his pension. No, they should all be fired. And technically, that is a civil rights violation. I won't say it's a civil rights violation because then again, that might be looked into. I still think it's blatant ignorance of the police, and the simple fact of the matter is, that entire department up there says a lot. Don't get me wrong, the chief of police is trying, but it should have been in all 3 firings, stripped of their pension, things of that nature. One officer should have not been allowed to resign. That's just my personal feeling on it. And at the same time, Elijah McClain, it's one of those stories that we're going to keep on talking about. Like I said, with Breonna Taylor, because Breonna Taylor is not getting mentioned anymore, doesn't mean we should fucking forget about it. We should still be saying her name. We should still be saying Elijah McClain's name, Ahmaud Arbery's name, Eric Gardner's name, George Floyd's name, Philando Castile's name, Tamir Rice's name, Sandra Bland's name. We can keep going down this entire list, and it's sad that there's a list, and the list keeps growing. I'm not going to stop saying their names. In the same sense, like I said, with Black Lives Matter was a trending topic, but now it's starting to die down. We should not stop doing that. And police should be held accountable. And I'm going to keep on saying that. I'm going to keep on saying that until change actually happens. Or unless I run for office, which again, I'm if y'all guys, again, if you had me, if I was in office, that would be interesting. That would be interesting. That's about the best way I can say that. Anyway, moving right along, we do have some news about the U.S. job records and job record gains. And, they try to paint a rosy picture of it, but really it's still crap.
News. A record 4.8 million jobs were added in June, the unemployment rate falling to 11.1%. But with the virus surging again in recent days, some workers are losing their jobs for a second time. Here's ABC's chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis.
Tonight, 3 out of 10 Americans who lost their jobs during the shutdowns now back at work. The president eager to relay those record-breaking jobs numbers to the American people.
Today's announcement proves that our economy is roaring back. It's coming back extremely strong.
But critics like presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden were quick to point out that many states have started rolling back or pausing plans to reopen parts of their economies this month, too.
This report measures job gains as of June the 12th. In the days since, we've seen cases spiking around the country. Some businesses have closed down again.
The rollback sending employees like Dallas bartender Randy Heitzman, who returned to work in May, back to the unemployment line.
I got furloughed with almost no notice from my job. This second round, I think, is going to be more stressful.
Layoffs persistently high. For the 15th straight week, more than 1 million Americans have filed new claims for unemployment benefits. We saw long lines at this unemployment office in Oklahoma today.
But, Tom, given that record rehiring, analysts expect the White House will allow the $600 added weekly unemployment benefit to expire at the end of this month, though they say some additional stimulus is necessary for the American people, given those persistent layoffs and sky-high unemployment. Tom?
Now, that should also tell you a lot, folks. Like I said, the job market, as far as that goes, this is why I sit there and say for the exact same thing, is just that we still have an issue. And this capitalist society that we've been feeding the top tier to and forgetting about the middle and lower parts, that house of cards is about to fall. Because amazing how they sit there and say, well, we had We had 4.8 million jobs added in June. However, the data was taken before this actual second corona case, before the increased corona cases viruses came out. And now, all those jobs that you supposedly gained are about to be lost again. At this point, as we've been saying, the whole idea of trying to beat this coronavirus and resettle our economy is not going to be done by trying to get Americans back to work as soon as humanly possible. You've tried that. It has failed. For the simple fact of the matter, there needs to be a different approach. And I love the fact how they sat there and said, well, we're not going to increase we're not going to increase the benefits for the weekly unemployment because they're still set to expire up to July. At the end of July, I should say. It is amazing to me how they always there and say, oh, well, we don't need to help you guys as far as getting over bills and utilities and putting memorandum so that way you guys aren't evicted and things of that nature. Oh, no. We're going to get you back to work as soon as humanly possible. But if Wall Street complains, where do we know? We ran out of money. It's like a child coming back from his trust fund, asking for more money. Oh, here you go. Here's $1 billion. Go have fun again. Or the banks come calling. Because the banks have been bailed out more than once. Wall Street has now been bailed out more than a dozen times. And I have yet to see the American people honestly get the same treatment as Wall Street has done. That's just me. Boy, say Alex, it's like Philip DeFranco said, no matter how much whipped cream, cherries, or sprinkles you put on top of a piece of shit, it'll never be a sundae. Yep, you right about that. But like I said, they were talking about a second round of stimulus possibly being, and yes, again, that is being talked about that, of course, the Democrats do want another round of direct stimulus payments, up to $1,200 again. Right now, it's still kind of being on hold with the Senate, which I think is still kind of funny that the Senate is literally the wall that Trump has always wanted, just in a different location. And of course, the Senate Republicans are sitting there saying, well, we're going to consider stimulus because they're, again, too busy trying to get people to go back to work in a situation where they cannot. Again, it is amazing to me how when American people need assistance, and like I said, like Bernie Sanders said it so well, is that what should have happened is that Americans, men and women, and adults, should have gotten $2,000 a month until this coronavirus is over. Think about that. We have enough money as of right now to send well over $1.5 trillion to Wall Street. If we can give $1.5 trillion to Wall Street, you can give every American $2,000 a month to get by until this is all blown over. That alone says everything about how they're treating this. And even more so, that they think that another thing of $1,200 is going to be enough. $1,200 may be something, but it's not everything. People still have bills. You still have utilities. You still have food to put on your table. You still have gas to put in your car. Hell, you still got car payments to make and house and rent and utilities. $1,200 isn't going to fucking cut it. But again, we shouldn't be surprised because when it comes to the American people and concerning the fact that it's our money, we should be able to get that J.G. Wentworth help. That's all I'm saying. And also, before we get to our last couple of stories, the White House is reading a new message. Dorito has went from being the soothsayer, because we all know how Dorito really just turned around and predicted that the virus should go away, right?
Have not made.
What we've seen over the last...
Oh, that was embarrassing. Hang on, that did not go the way I intended because I wanted to show... Okay, let's try this video again because that was good and terrible. Let's try part 2.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope.
You still believe so? Disappear?
Well, I do.
City hospitals are 2 to 3 weeks away from running out of essential medical supplies. That is the big concern across the country.
How is it possible that more than 5 months into this crisis, our country is still facing a possible shortage of 30 million N95 masks this month?
Willie, we saw a senator say, no, you can't get tests right now if you need them. That's important that the truth start being told like that. Dr. Fauci said the same thing yesterday, said it was a failing. Last night, Sean Hannity asked Azar, Secretary Azar, when can every American get a test if they want a test? Secretary Azar refused to answer the question.
The clinic had to create a waiting list due to the skyrocketing demand for testing. This week, it started off with 30 names. Now it's more than 200 patients long.
The family clinic has been open for testing for about 3 months now, but in recent weeks, lines have snaked through the parking lot, people waiting for hours to get tested.
Giovanni Salazar and his family, one of many waiting in line to get tested at the MD Family Clinic.
We thought we were going to be for like 2 hours, 3, but we're heading towards like 5-6 hours now.
And there are reports are running out of tests in parts of Florida as well.
That's the part I wanted to show. So yes, it's amazing how, remember Dorito sat there and said, it's going to go away. It's going to be a miracle. You know, when it gets hot, it's going to get away. It's going to just go away. Because he has no idea of how science works. Mainly how genetics work and how viruses work. Of course, we shouldn't be surprised how Dorito doesn't know anything about that. But the new message that the White House is about to come out with is that, and I wish I could say, I think they just ran out of excuses. The new slogan is, we need to live with it, which is basically them coming to grips. What we've been saying was going to happen this whole time with this coronavirus was, the simple fact of the matter was, yeah, you're going to have to learn to live with it. That, again, with 55,000 new cases that have occurred across the U.S., coronavirus is not going away anytime soon. We can mitigate it, we can lower it, but like I said, we're having to turn around and literally do all this all over again, which basically means that we are going to have to go back and start all over again. Wear a mask, social distancing, don't go out unless you have to, try to avoid large crowds, and also, if you're fucking sick, stay home. Or if you're really sick, go to the ER and actually get help. Not like in Alabama where they're having coronavirus parties where they actually take a potload of money and say, you know, whoever gets sick gets the pot. I mean, I've never seen people, and I actually, it was funny, actually I take that back, because there was a Facebook post that I saw where they said coronavirus is much like racism. It only affects you if you see it happen right in front of you. And I took away from that saying, you know what, that's exactly true. Most people are not going to see anything unless it happens directly in front of them. And in this case, the coronavirus, and I'm sorry, if you are a conspiracy nut, I do love entertaining y'all sometimes, but unless you're a doctor, unless you're a nurse, unless you are a research scientist, unless you have a degree in genetics, unless you are an ER doctor or a trauma surgeon or things of that nature, which I don't know if you haven't noticed, the entire medical community has said in one resounding loud voice, coronavirus is real, it's not man-made, it's not out to attack certain people, it's not a biological weapon, it is simply a virus that is new and is need to be studied, and eventually a vaccine and cure will come, but it may take years. I would like to say for everybody else that says, and I'll be honest with you on that one, it is your right to wear a mask, but at the same time, there's no harm in wearing one. I mean, I have to stress this so heavily because I've seen a lot of Facebook posts a lot about this. Look, guys, wearing a mask does not prevent coronavirus. You are limiting exposure, because if someone is sick and you have a mask on, you are reducing the chances of exposure to yourself. In the very same sense, they're reducing the chances of being able to pass it along to somebody else. It is not a cure-all. At the same time, wearing a mask does help flatten the curve. Records have shown that. In the same sense how social distancing would have flattened the curve. Again, data has shown that. Where have we gotten that data from? The medical group, the medical field, if you will. So again, listening to people sit there and say, well, I've been walking around without a mask and I'm fine. No, you've been very lucky. Because again, coronavirus is real and it is affecting a lot of people out there. So to sit there and say, well, it hasn't happened to me yet, doesn't mean that it cannot happen to you. You just may have been lucky enough to where you may not have been exposed to it. But unfortunately, a lot of other people out there didn't have that same luck, and would probably tell you once they had the coronavirus, that's not a fucking joke. So that's my little bit of a rant. I'm gonna, leave it at that. We can say, Alex, I'm gonna stay in a strict position about the stimulus package. I recognize a lot of people need it and they deserve it. I feel a little guilty by accepting it since I haven't really been hit financially. Having said that, I really could use a new couch. Dude, look. Here's the thing about, I said, and before I get to my final story, before I get to my good news segment, look, the whole thing about the stimulus package is it is there for us. We need it because, number one, people can't work. People can't work. Bills are still coming in. You still got to put food on the table. And you need that stimulus. I have nothing against the fact of a stimulus package going out to U.S. citizens. I have nothing against that. Bernie Sanders had the best idea. And it's funny that the idea that Bernie Sanders had, Canada has instituted for almost 4 months now. Because Bernie Sanders sat there and said $1,200 is not going to cut it. We should be giving single people $2,000 and couples $4,000 every month until the coronavirus situation is over. Now think about that. Instead of a measly $1,200 check that you'll get between now and sometime before August, you would, if you were single, you get $2,000 a month. If you were a couple, you get $4,000 a month. And think about that. $2,000 a month or $4,000 a month would go a lot longer than basically $1,200 check. Now, don't get me wrong. I still say, technically we should be getting, of course, with the unemployment and the bonus uptake, it does convince, and I know I hear this a lot from essential workers, it does convince a lot of people to go on unemployment because you get more from unemployment than you do from your job. Now, I understand that from the unemployment aspect that you pretty much are getting paid for staying at home. Rightly so, just because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So there's nothing wrong with that as far as that goes. And I think essential workers should be getting paid more in their hazard pay because for those jobs that are deemed essential, they are risking their lives to keep America running as best as possibly can. Now, should they be getting paid twice as much as unemployment workers? Yes, because it's hazard pay. Hazard pay means you are risking your livelihood, so therefore you should be paid for that. You should be compensated for that. Not a lot of places are doing that, but they should. So I can understand from the essential workers argument that what's the whole point of working if you get more from unemployment? Completely get that. In the more sense that, like I said, I understand what you're saying, Alex. You say you're in a juxtaposition about this. It's just because if we did what Canada did, because Canada took it upon themselves to pay $2,000 a week. $2,000 a week to their Canadians. They created the law, they instigated it, and even created a website in less than a week. Canadians signed up for it and immediately started getting paid. This was all done within the matter of a couple of weeks. It took us nearly a month and a half to get a $1,200 check, and also which they're not saying, because the entire direct deposit thing was so fucked up, $1 billion actually went to dead people. $1 billion of stimulus money went to people who are no longer with us. Just saying, that's how messed up it truly is out there. That $1 billion right now is sitting in dead people's checks. Fucked up, isn't it? But again, it's not surprising. But speaking of things that are not surprising, I still will follow this. Our last one gets to the feel good news segment. The Supreme Court will decide if the House gets the Mueller grand jury material. Keep in mind that at this point, for all those that don't remember, so long ago last year, that Robert Mueller did actually do an investigation, which again was not about the president, because I had to keep on saying this because a lot of people will never get this right, that Mueller was investigating on whether or not Russia interfered in the 2016 election. It was not about specifically looking for Dorito. He was also looking into everything of that aspect. And of course, as the report was coming to fruition, and even though Dorito sat there and said, I welcome the report, even though for the simple fact of the matter that he was welcoming, saying he's already been exonerated, calling Mueller and the Democrats a witch hunt, questioning Mueller, even though Mueller was a registered Republican and was trusted by Democratic and Republican presidents throughout his time period, also was former head of the FBI. At all said and done, the new AG at the time, which actually took over for Jeff Sessions, which was now William Burr, or as I like to call him, the person's president attorney, was taking over at the time of the Mueller investigation was going down, had turned around and put a hold on the Mueller investigations, saying that once he received the full report, he wanted to look at it, and within 24 to 48 hours, gave the Cliff Notes version that he believed that the report exonerated the president. Even though Mueller himself testified in the report, sat there and said that more than likely the president was involved with Russia meddling in the first election, or that he knew about it. Now, the report that we got that went public was redacted heavily, and also that same report, the actual report, is still with the AG's office. Now, the House of Representatives, monthly, that's controlled by Democrats, was arguing this entire time that they wanted to see the jury material, which is basically the material that was withheld from the special investigation that Robert Mueller did. Now, of course, the Supreme Court, which is currently right now conservative leaning, may decide on whether or not to allow this to happen. Now, for all of you probably wondering, what does all that mean? It's pretty much as we said. We wanted a thorough and conducted investigation of President of the Russian interference, as well as all those that were involved, which we already know from Robert Mueller. He did get Paul Manafort, who was also investigated, and so many more from the administration that was a part of Doritos administration, including those that were seen as spies, those that were seen as compromised, like Jared Kushner, and Michael Floyd. All of those were pretty much showing signs that yes, there were multiple cracks in the Trump administration, and that because of that, we want to see the version of the final report. Unfortunately, as long as Burr is the Attorney General, he will be the president's personal attorney and prevent that from happening. Which, in case House Democrats did actually take him to court, and now it's going to be up to the Supreme Court to whether or not to allow it. Like I said, because it's conservative leaning, my confidence level is not really at an all-time high with a conservative leaning Supreme Court. So again, it would be interesting to see if they do release it, because if they do, then it might bring a lot of things to light. In the same sense like the president's tax returns. Because let's be honest, guys, if the president were to actually lose his seat come November, understand the reason he's been able to do all of this is because he's the president. And for some odd reason, even though it's not a law, and I keep stressing this all the time, it's not a law that you can indict a sitting president. It is the opinion of the Department of Justice not to do it. It's not a law. It's just that they say it would be frowned upon, which I think is kind of interesting, because that's pretty much saying that the president is above the law until he's no longer the president. So again, take it as you will. But like I said, it would be nice. But this is the reason why Dorito needs his presidential seat so bad, is because he's already got the pieces in place to protect him. And without that presidential seat, I am more than certain his ass will be in prison right next to Epstein, if Epstein was still alive. But that being said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and move forward into our good news segment. Like I said, actually, let me get these last couple comments in. Oh, he said, Alex, I'm just saying in my personal opinion, I don't need it, so I feel a little guilty, but not so guilty that if they send it to me, that I'll send it back, though. $1 billion went to the dead people, but $4.3 million got withheld from Native Americans. Yeah, that is also true. That Native Americans did not get stimulus. That Native Americans did not get those stimulus payments. You're exactly right. They did not get paid as well. They did not get paid as well. Sorry about that. But yeah, you're right. It is a fucking government fail. But moving on to our good news segment, like I said, on How the Frack We Got Here, we do cover a lot of stuff that, will bring you down. It's doom and gloom and all that stuff. But it's the weekend when we usually do the show, and if you're working, I understand it, but if you're not working and it's hot outside, you want to go out, enjoy the day, get some good vibes in. Like I said, I'm not calling it the 4th anymore. It's to me, it's National Barbecue Day. Because, I'll be honest with you, my Independence Day was Juneteenth, so as far as the 4th of July goes, it's just another excuse for me to barbecue and hang out with people. But that being said, there are some stories I did want to go into. This one right here reminded me of somebody in my neighborhood. This woman, Wanda Beavers, also known as Mama Tutu, is literally the Mother Teresa of her neighborhood in Jackson, Missouri. Basically, she is the woman that her whole idea is helping people. I mean, she's lent rooms out to homeless people. She's gave meals. She's helped kids. She's helped people with bills and things of that nature. And there actually was a story done on her that because of her openness to people, that the coronavirus really did shut a lot of stuff down, in which she herself used to host a 4th of July barbecue that was free to the public, free to the neighborhood, and she would go and she would organize it, get food, basically have people have a good time. So in this case, what was happening with coronavirus, it didn't look like it was going to happen this year, but other restaurants have stepped in to purchase all the food and even do drinks and things of that nature, entertainment. And the thing about this is actually is going on right now in Jackson, Missouri, that she's literally opening this cookout for all. And she's always sat there and said her passion is helping people. And that's actually Mama Tutu right there. Where she pretty much says her passion is to help people and just that people need help, to get people on their feet, to give them something, to give hope. And I'm going to be honest, that reminds me of the old heads in my old neighborhood where, they just wanted to help people. And you had a few of them. I mean, you had the big mamas and you had the old school dudes that would come through and be like, hey man, you need some, that shade tree mechanic. All you need to give him was two fifths of Hennessy, and he fix your car. I'm not saying no names, but pretty much they're pillars of the community, and I love when I see stuff like that. Just because the simple fact of the matter is, there's not too many people of them left, and I just thought that was cool about that story. Another story, which I want to say it was a feel-good segment, but it kind of brought back some memories up. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because I feel like I share way more of my life. I do share a lot of my life with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and tell this story because there's a story of mine too. So I do love the fact of when I see people who get awarded for never missing a day of school from kindergarten up until 12th grade. This one young lady, Ashanti Palmer, who's the valedictorian of her class, which also is a very esteemed position if you can nail it. Everybody, if you want to, you can achieve it. That's all I'm saying. At the same time, this woman actually was not only a valedictorian, but again, she never missed a day of school from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I don't know about it, and I'll take this guy from experience. It's just simple fact of the matter is, she was that determined. Not only is it a achievement to never miss a day of school throughout the entire 12 years of education, but to also be valedictorian as well. I thought that was cool. I thought that was great. And again, I will always congratulate her for that. That also being said, because I wasn't valedictorian in my high school. I really wasn't. What actually happened to me was I was supposed to get it because yours truly, I didn't miss a day of school. I didn't miss a day of school either, from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I won't tell you who was more, just a funny story. I will tell you who was more upset about that. Because personally, I didn't care. There were days I didn't want to go to school either. And there were days I was like, screw it, I just want to stay home. And of course, my mom said, nope, get your ass up and go to school. So of course I did. And of course, as we got to our baccalaureate, I think that's what they call it, which I think is like the ceremony before the graduation. Well, at least that's the way it is in Tennessee. And so what was funny was there was this part that as we're sitting there in our gowns and whatnot, and our regalia gowns and whatnot, of course, this one award comes up for, let's give a round of applause for these students who never missed a day in school, right? So, of course, I'm sitting down. I am oblivious to the fact that I never missed a day. I never missed a day in school. So as three other students got up. Of course, everybody got up, clapping and whatnot. My mom was heated. Because she knew. And she even went to the principal right after the ceremony and said, you do realize that my child didn't miss a day in school. Mainly me. I was just happy to be done with it. I was ready to be done with school anyway because my high school was a prison. Literally, we had barbed wire fencing. It was the middle of the country. We had more cops than the average school. Again, prison. But anyway, my mom was so heated. Like, it didn't. She was so heated. The principal was like, "Oh, well, we'll look into this." I kid you not. After my graduation in May, there was a letter that came to my parents' house while I was in college, and the letter simply said, "We are so sorry. We apologize. We did not recognize your son," meaning me, at the graduation. He actually did not miss a day of school. It is our apologies. We did not catch this in time. Please accept our humble apology. My mom, I have never seen my mom so pissed. And for me, I was like, it's Tennessee. Tennessee education is kind of like Florida football. You forget it after about your first beer. But again, I just thought it was interesting. Like I said, I always will give those who never miss a day in school from kindergarten to 12th grade, kudos to that, because that is an accomplishment of itself. At the same time, you're valedictorian too. Again, that is a position that is not easily achievable, but it can be achievable. And I just thought that was cool. What do you say, Alex? Mama Tutu, isn't that an honorific nickname taken from Archbishop Desmond Tutu? If so, that's an even more amazing testament to her reverence. You know what? That's a good question, honestly. I really don't know that. I mean, I've heard shorter names like Mama Gigi, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, the last good news section I have is kind of more of a historic one. Really and it's actually 2 clips. But for all those that don't know about Mr. Rogers, that man is, of course, if you're my age or younger, if you're my age or older, you definitely know about Mr. Rogers. And in his case, Mr. Rogers actually broke barriers, especially color barriers. Not to say that he wasn't black and white and eventually did Technicolor as technology moved forward, but he broke barriers as far as racial barriers go. And the guy who played Officer Clemens in these 2 clips I'm about to play does explain how Mr. Rogers went about doing this. And also, if you haven't seen the Tom Hanks version of I forget how it goes, "Will You Be My Neighbor?" is really good as well. But then again, but let me explain this guy. Pretty much let him tell it as he says it, because the guy who's actually going to be talking is Officer Clemens from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Handyman Negri and Officer Clemens, I presume.
Correct as always, Your Highness. Could we take a close look at your badge here, Officer Clemens? My friends, I think, can read it. Police.
I have always felt policemen to be the most dangerous person in the neighborhood. So to have me playing a police officer, I was tremendously hesitant. But there was something reluctant about Fred to let go. And I said, "Mr. Rogers, I would be very happy to be on your program as long as it doesn't interfere with my singing."
We've had it and now it can go. We don't want the snow anymore.
And he teased me about that for 20 years. He'd say, "Officer Clemens, are we interfering with your career? Are we interfering?" He was relentless, but he also told me, he said, "That was the moment I loved you." He said, "Because you were not going to kiss my ass." Those are Mr. Rogers' words.
That feels good. Oh, there's Officer Clemens. Hi, Officer Clemens. Come in.
Rogers, how are you?
Fine. Won't you sit down?
Oh, sure. Just for a moment.
It's so warm. I was just putting some water on my feet.
Oh, it sure is.
Would you like to join me?
It looks awfully enjoyable, but I don't have a towel or anything.
Oh, you share mine.
Okay.
Sure.
Around the country, they didn't want black people to come and swim in their swimming pools. And Fred said, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Today, trouble under a noon sun. Negroes and white rabbis marched to a segregated hotel with these results. Manager James Brock told them to get off his private property, tossed cleaning chemicals inside the pool in an effort to get the Negroes to leave.
My being on the program was a statement for Fred.
cool water on a hot day.
And I thought that was cool. Just the fact of the matter is, you had a guy who literally and figuratively was just showing that that pretty much at a time of segregation where you couldn't share a pool with anybody, here Mr. Rogers is on television, literally doing that. Even more so, he did not do it only once, but he actually did it another time too.
Francois Clemens, hi, welcome.
Thank you. How you doing?
Fine, how are you today?
Fine.
My feet were tired, so I thought I'd just soak them for a while in this water.
Does it make him feel better?
It does. Would you like to try?
Sure. On the show, he would say, I love you just the way you are. One day I said, Fred, were you talking to me? And he looked at me and he said, yes. I've been talking to you for 2 years, and you finally heard me today. And I just collapsed into his arms. I started crying. That's when I knew that I loved him. There are many ways to say I love you. There are many ways to say I care about. No man had ever told me that he loved me like that. I needed to hear it all my life. My dad never told me. My stepfather never told me. So, from then on, he became my surrogate father.
I'm so proud of you, Francois.
Oh, thank you, Fred.
Can I help you here?
Thank you.
Crazy, ain't it? And I do, like I said, boy, Mr. Rogers actually, along with some other shows back then, really did actually take race and actually try to show the stupidity of it all. And I love the fact that he actually showed that a black man could share a wading pool with him and share a towel with him. And guess what? The world didn't stop. But then again, like I said, Mr. Rogers, along with many other shows out there, the man was a national treasure in my opinion. And like I said, you can't be mad about a dude who literally may have been a so-called sniper. He really wasn't, but that's the myth of Mr. Rogers. A man that smiled that much was a deadly ass Marine sniper. But again, that's not true. But it's nice to have it as a myth. Anyway, that being said, guys, that's going to be the end of our podcast this week. I do thank everybody for watching. If you can, there's a scroll above my head that actually shows you Cash App that actually goes toward helping the shows as far as better lighting and better equipment, things of that nature. If you can donate, that's more than appreciated. If you cannot, then I understand as well. The only thing I do ask is that, hey, just share the show with those that might be interested to actually get their opinions and, again, bring more to the table. As you've seen Alex, one of my good friends, Alex, actually comment here because I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, and I do mean anybody. That includes you, Trump supporters, that still talk to me at 2 a.m. in the morning for reasons beyond my comprehension. I am talking about you as well. But I'm never not against not talking to anyone as long as you're open and willing to have a conversation. That's the way I look at stuff. So, aside from that, guys, I am not the only cat that does have podcasts, so I will go ahead and run through them very quickly. I'll start with my buddy Big BZA Dot on all social medias. I have got to get more of their graphics. I'll have to ask him for that. But my friend Vaughn, Big BZA on social medias, he actually has the VSTs, or the Intercast he calls it. It's a news podcast. That news can be music, video games, or trailers, similar to an interactive show just like mine. He also has Rhythmness, where you can reminisce over the rhythm, in which he goes with the albums of the past and present, grades to a 4-tier rating system. Also wants to have a conversation over what's good and what's bad. Also an interactive show. And finally, he has Random as Fuck, which is the pool of ratchetness we sometimes ever toes into to take a break from life and have a chuckle. Some videos make you think, some videos make you cry, some videos just stick with you until the test of time. If you want to watch all these shows, please go to his YouTube page at abigbza. Or his YouTube page at abigbza.podcast to be able to see every podcast he's done thus far. Also, my other brother, another mother, Thomas Reed, a.k.a. The Mountain Puncher, has his own To Be Determined podcast, which is a fitness podcast, in which he goes over everything from working out to certain things you can do, don't do, should do, and above all else, just try to be a better you. Which is every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. under his Facebook page at Thomas Reed, or his YouTube page at the number 2, letter T, letter B, letter D, that's 2TBD, which again, every Saturday from 2 to 3. as for yours truly, I do have my own set of podcasts, of course, every Tuesday from 7 to 9 is the Burned Out Podcast, my IT storytelling podcast, in which I tell stories from my current and previous times that I've worked in IT. Of course, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon, I do have my How the Frack We Got Here, which is the podcast you're watching now. A little bit later tonight, between 7 to 9 p.m., will be the Off Limits podcast, and it'll be an interesting podcast because I will have some new people on the show, as well as the topic, which I myself do not know of because I've asked the ladies of the show to come up with a topic, and I wouldn't say I'm a little scared, I'm a little concerned, but it should be fun. But anyway, it's a podcast, like I said. As the name implies, there is nothing off limits we won't talk about, only because everything should be able to be talked about, and we prove that every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. And also on Sunday between 7 and 9 p.m. will be my Get Bit podcast, which is my blurred podcast, in which I cover everything from video games, music, to science, to anime, to comics, to television shows, to movies, and even sports, because for even sports, including pro wrestling, because again, pro wrestling is entertainment and should also not be ignored. But again, we take everything from a blurred perspective, and if you're a blurred, or just you believe you're a blurred, or you're just a nerd just wanting to find a spot to where you can join us, hey, there's always more room in the pool for us. So again, if you want to see that, that'll definitely be from Sunday night from 7 to 9. All of my shows have YouTube and Facebook pages. So if you look up How the Frack We Got Here, the Burned Out Podcast, the Off Limits Podcast, and Get Bit, that is GITBIT, you will be able to see every podcast I've done thus far. And again, like, share, and subscribe to those pages. And if you like what you see, please let me know. If you didn't like what you see, please let me know. I am open to criticism because I'm always trying to make this podcast and platform better for everyone to enjoy. Eventually we will drop the cussing. I know sometimes I do cuss, but I do want to make it to where it's a little bit more kid friendly, to where you can watch certain things around your kids. The Off Limits Podcast will never be that, but at least for everything else, we'll try to do our best. So besides that, guys, the last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. As I keep saying, the entire point of this show is not to persuade, not to change your mind. It is simply trying to get you into the process of staying informed. Staying informed means that you are looking beyond face value, that you're actually going in and finding out the information for yourself from reliable sources, and being able to empower yourself to go ahead and tell exactly what you show to somebody else, in the hopes that you will empower themselves to do the same. Because whenever we're informed, we are less fearful, we are able to make better choices, and at the same time, we're better as a society. Because an uninformed one is terrible. It will always make the wrong choices, and history will repeat itself. An informed community can make a lot better choices than an uninformed one, because an uninformed one got us Dorito, and that's how the frack we got here. So, with all that being said, guys, I hope you have a happy barbecue day. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to say it. Have a happy barbecue day, and like I said, with the coronavirus out there, please be safe, wear a mask, go out only if you have to, and if you're sick, stay home. And also for all those who are essential workers, I'm talking about you guys who work in hospitals, doctors, nurses aides, doctors aides, environmental people, for all those that are working in the in the carrier services, UPI, United States Postal Service, UPS, DHL, Amazon, FedEx. I think I didn't mention UPS, but I'll mention it again. For all those truckers that still go out there on the road to make sure that other areas still have food. For all those that work in grocery stores, for retail stores, things of that nature to keep America running. Thank you, and please be safe. Because let's be honest, there are just some fools out there that still believe this is a hoax. But above all that, like I said before, thank you guys for all that you do. And if I was you guys in the medical profession, I would be screaming about getting my student loans wiped. But anyway, thank you all guys for watching. I hope to see you guys later on the Off Limits Podcast. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm out. Peace.